The sensex is up about 100. Mid-cap index is very, very quiet. The bank Nifty isn't moving. The market is extremely choppy in a very tight and narrow range. So it's not an easy market to trade.
The high that we touched today was 17,061. So right now we are just at that 17,003 mark.
Beginning of the last hour of trade, it's looking a little better, 17,083. All of the enthusiasm which was there till about 2:30, 2 o'clock, mid-afternoon, completely out. And we're ending absolutely flat on the Nifty. We'll end with about a 20-odd point gain.
Hello and welcome to CNBC-TV18. You're watching Markets Today, the show where we track about 6 hours of the day's trading action in 5 headlines. I'm Sonal Bhutra. Here are the headlines for the day. Indian indices closed with minor gains after failing to hold on to an intraday recovery. Mid-cap underperformed benchmarks while Nifty Bank closes flat after a day of wild swings. Market breadth firmly favors declines with 4 stocks falling for every one that rose. Nifty Pharma shines today, but the sector remains 6% lower for the year so far. Lupin soars after receiving no observations following a pharmacovigilance inspection by the US FDA. Sun Pharma buys into an animal health business, but also reports challenges due to a ransomware attack. Crompton Greaves Consumer Electricals announces a merger with recently acquired Butterfly Gandhimati. Butterfly shareholders will receive 22 shares of Crompton for every 5 equity shares held. The stock falls as the swap valuation favors the parent. Reliance gains 2% after domestic brokerage firm Kotak Institutional Equities calls the stock a compelling buy. Phoenix Mill surges over 3.5% after Morgan Stanley raises its target on the stock and initiates the coverage at 1,700 rupees a share, while a ratings downgrade pushes M&M a percent lower. Modestly better sentiment after Silicon Valley Bank finds a buyer for its deposits and loans, keeps gold prices below the $2,000 mark. A firmer US dollar and profit booking also weighs the yellow metal lower. And here's the lineup of what we have in store for you. In Market Opinion, we have Vetri Subramaniam of UTI AMC, and in Corporate Voices, we have Varun Alag of Mamaearth. And straight to the day's market action. Market failed to hold recovery after mid-caps underperformed benchmark indices. Nifty and Sensex ended 0.25% higher, while the Nifty Bank ended flat. The mid-cap index ended with cuts of 0.5%. The market capitalization of BSE companies slipped to its lowest level since July 15, 2022. Prashant Nair is here with the details. Prashant?
Well, a disappointing day for bulls, those who were hoping that the market will finally break out. It did give us the signs mid-afternoon, even late into the session. The Nifty was up 130, 140 points. But in the last 45 minutes or so, things just completely went south. The Nifty ended absolutely flat, 20-odd point gain. Banks actually sold off. The Bank Nifty was in the red by close. And it was not as if there was any great global volatility in the last 45 minutes of our trade. So this is just sort of falling on its own weight. Nifty, the gainers first. Reliance was a big contributor. Infosys, Kotak Bank, Grasim and State Bank of India. More banks, actually large cap financials doing quite okay. Cuts coming through on names like Adani Ports, SBI Life and Power Grid, which were the top losers. Market breadth never recovered. Even when the Nifty was up and up, market breadth was deeply in the red, and that was the way we closed off at 3:30. IEX, Wockhardt, Aarti Drugs, Hikal, Surya Roshni, Bombay Dyeing are some of the names which fell on volumes. But there were gainers as well, even though, as I said, breadth was firmly negative. HAL, the defense name, Lupin, Biocon, Glenmark. Pharma actually had a pretty decent day. Naukri, that is InfoEdge, and Uno Minda were some of the stocks which did quite well. The question is, now that the market today once again has given up from the day's high and sold off, will it eventually retest the 16,850, 16,800 kind of levels? We got 2 tests of those levels, but successfully that was defended. And of course, global headlines become important again. US seemed settled as we came back into this new week. European worries continue, although price action in Europe today was also quite okay. Will banking worries globally take a bit of a backseat, which should allow us some relief rallies? Back to you.
Okay, Prashant, thank you so much for that analysis. On to some expert opinion now, where Vetri Subramaniam, Chief Investment Officer at UTI AMC, expects FY24 earnings expectations to be downgraded further. He also said that market valuations, they have returned to comfortable levels now. Listen to what he had to say.
I think the market's effectively gone nowhere if I look at price levels for maybe 18 months or more. earnings expectation, when I look at the consensus for March 24, it looks like a bar which has been set a little bit too high. To deliver that kind of earnings growth in FY24 is a little bit of a very high bar, in my opinion. I think the good point today is that with prices having gone nowhere, you've effectively seen valuations sort of come back into the comfort zone. It's still actually not even come back to the long-term average, but it's at least back within the comfort zone. So we would sort of say there's a lot more comfort with where valuations are placed today.
Okay, that's a market opinion. Moving on to the second headline now. Nifty Pharma showed in trade today, but the sector remains 6% lower for the year so far. Ekta is here with a wrap on all the news that moved major stocks today. Ekta.
Well, yes, I'll start with the news on Sun Pharma. They have indicated to the exchanges after their March 2nd update. The latest update indicates that a ransomware group has claimed responsibility for a recent IT incident. It is expected to reduce revenue in some businesses as per the company. However, the street seems to be sanguine about it because the FY23 guidance of high single-digit to low double-digit growth is likely to be intact. Separately, Sun is going to be acquiring 60% shareholding in Vivaldis Health and Food for 143.3 crores, which is an India-based animal health company. And Credit Suisse upgraded Sun today to outperform from neutral with a target price of 1150. According to them, the specialty sales are expected to double in the next 4 years. Lupin was in focus because the UK MHRA, which is the UK regulator, completed an inspection of their Pithampur facility successfully. And the company also completed a pharmacovigilance inspection by the US FDA with no observations. Basically, that inspection includes scrutiny of practices and procedures for reporting of adverse events of Lupin's products. And lastly, Biocon was buzzing in trade today. IIFL upgraded the stock from reduced to add. Target price 230 rupees. According to them, valuations reasonable but not cheap enough. Biocon's current market price implies that Biocon Biologics is still trading at around 12.5 to 13 times FY25 EV to EBITDA.
Ekta, thank you so much for joining us. A busy day for you today. Moving on to the third headline now. Crompton Greaves Consumer Electricals has announced a merger with Butterfly Gandhimathi, which it recently acquired. Butterfly shareholders will receive 22 shares of Crompton for every 5 equity shares held. The stock fell today as the swap valuation favors the parent. Surbhi Sataria is here with all those details. Surbhi?
So why Butterfly Gandhimathi is in focus is because Crompton has announced merger of Butterfly Gandhimathi with itself. Just to alert, a year ago, Crompton had already picked a controlling stake in the company. Now, this scheme is subject to regulatory approvals, but if it goes through, the shareholders of Butterfly will receive 22 shares of Crompton for every 5 shares held in the company. And post the merger, the shareholders of Butterfly will hold a 3% stake in the combined entity. Now, the indicative timeline for completion of this merger is 12 to 14 months from now. Now, why Butterfly Gandhimathi is reacting is because last year when Crompton bought the controlling stake, the value of the deal was 1892 odd crores and the current market cap of the company is 2300 odd crores, which basically indicates that Crompton has paid 10% less for this transaction. Now, this morning, they held a conference call and some key takeaways from there are that they've reiterated that they expect the transaction to be EPS accretive from FY24. They've also said that till now, they have realized the cost synergies of up to 18 to 20 crores. They further said that in the future, they don't expect all cost synergies to flow to the bottom line. Part of it will be reinvested in the business. They aim to grow the Butterfly business at a double-digit revenue growth. They also said that the current manufacturing setup will not be able to meet the demands for the combined entity. And further, they said that getting approval from the majority of the minority shareholders of Butterfly will be key for completing this transaction.
Surbhi, thank you so much for joining us with that analysis. Moving on, distribution of income as repayment of debt is now taxable from April 1, 2023, as per the Finance Bill 2023 amendments. Meanwhile, the deduction of acquisition costs from taxable income is allowed. Vikash Kadolia, CEO at Embassy REITs, and Ajay Roti, the partner at Dhruva Advisors, spoke to us about the impact of the bill on REITs and InvITs. Take a look.
Together with the dividend component, which is also tax-free, which is about 45%, about 85% of our distributions for FY23, there would be no upfront tax. So it's a huge plus for investor.
Insofar as the REIT is concerned, to the extent that the return of this amount represents what has been collected or it is a return of the capital that they have already raised, then they won't be taxed under other sources. So that 39% tax or the slab rate tax won't kick in on this amount to the extent that this repayment is the issue price.
Okay, these are all the top stories for now. We'll slip into a short break and be back in a jiffy with the other headlines that we are tracking for you.